Hello, everyone. Welcome into episode 155 of the Stomp the Bus Show. I'm your host, Mark Harris, and we've got a little bit of ASU football, kind of guys in postseason bowls. I don't know exactly what you want to call it with the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, and some basketball talk, good and bad, because that's what the men's and women's teams are providing us with their results. So, going to be a shorter show on this Thursday night. It'll probably get posted late on the 29th, so most people will be watching this on Friday or later, but I don't think anything would really change in that regard. So please like and subscribe, rate and review, and let's get started. So I was debating where I wanted to go to start this show, whether it's the basketball stuff or some of the ASU football topics that have been percolating. And because I've been a little bit, I don't know, lazy, honestly, or just have put this off in terms of recording, I'll just go with what's more current, and that is the ASU football stuff. Starting down in Mobile, Alabama, where a former ASU player is drawing some pretty good attention down there. ASU had two players get invited to the Senior Bowl, those being linebacker Keyshawn Elliott and offensive tackle Max Iheanachor. If you can see the video from Jared Feinberg, this video went viral on Wednesday night. It's just Iheanachor with the gold helmet, which makes it really easy to know who he is. Just really dominating Derek Moore from Michigan in pass protection at the Senior Bowl. And then Moore throws a punch, and then Iheanachor punches right back, hits him in the helmet. And obviously this clip has almost 1 million views. And you see all sorts of pro teams, ASU fans making fun of Michigan, and fans of pro teams being like, we want this guy Iheanachor. So I have a quote tweet of him, of Dane Brugler, who's a athletic draft guy. So this guy knows what he's talking about, saying that he was a winner on day 2 of practice, coordinated athlete in space, especially for 325, has the upside. So I'm not going to sit here and dive deep into like offensive lineman development and technique and how their feet work. Like I'm not going to really go granular on this stuff with Max Iheanachor. But other people are doing that, right? Other people who know more about the finer details of NFL offensive line play are seeing Iheanachor's performance in the Senior Bowl, and they're very impressed. You have Senior Bowl winners. This is from today. This is from Thursday. He is one of the winners, right, of the Senior Bowl. And if you just type his name in on Twitter, so look, here's another clip, right? It's him pulling and clearing space. The guy scores a touchdown behind him, okay? Another one. This is from Billy M91 on Twitter. It's him just totally just creating perfect room for the quarterback to operate. My point with this is like Max Iheanachor is going to fly up NFL draft boards because of this. Everyone's talking about Gray Zabel on the Seahawks, the left guard. I know I am, right? But his ascension and his rise to prominence among, people who like really follow football, but there's way more people who follow football as like when the Senior Bowl comes around versus like in the middle of the season. They're not like looking at North Dakota State too. My point is Gray Zabel really rose to prominence at the Senior Bowl because he did so well. Could Max Iheanachor be the next Gray Zabel? I mean, he has the body type, right? Like 325, 6'6", and you see that like he has enough of the athleticism to pair with that. And I just like you got put me on the Iheanachor hype train. If you're a GM at this, like you're paying attention to what Max Iheanachor has done. Here's Jordan Reed. Arizona OT Max Iheanachor has been one of the better tackles in Mobile so far. A fun prospect to watch today. Didn't play football in high school, right? Because that's the only reason ASU got him, especially back in 2023. He was from a JUCO. And, now that I'm talking this out, like I wonder if Max Iheanachor's success at ASU and his rise to NFL, because like Max Iheanachor is going to be at least a second round pick after this. I feel very confident saying that. And I have kind of some more locked in evidence to further my claim. But I wonder if Max Iheanachor's rise just to prominence, his growth as a player at ASU, was a key factor in swinging Jermaine Mitchell from Georgia to ASU. Now, Jermaine Mitchell, 6'8", probably weighs more than 325, from one of the Mississippi JUCOs, and he was the top player of all of JUCO, right? And so obviously a big reason for that success with ASU is like he picked ASU over Georgia, right? I didn't say that the best way, but that's why he was such an important get beyond just being a really high profile player. A lot of these JUCO guys, like a lot of these programs don't really go after them too much, or the big program, like the big blue blood programs, they don't really go after them as much. But clearly Georgia thought he was worth it. And so for ASU to kind of swing him, like that's a big deal. And and my point with this is like, I wonder if Max Iheanachor's success, even back then, 2 months ago, was a factor in him choosing ASU. And to kind of wrap up my point with this is like, Iheanachor is having a really good week in Mobile, or at least so far. Mobile, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. He has a chance to go in the first round. Like, this is what happens, especially because there aren't. Watch the NFL. Like, there aren't that many good offensive lines, and there aren't that many good offensive linemen. Okay, and so if you can show promise of being someone who can really be someone who could just be like a solid NFL offensive line starter, like that's extremely valuable in this day and age in the NFL. And so I don't think it's crazy at all that Max Iheanachor, I said he'll go in the second round, and I stick with that, but like I think he could go in the first round if he just continues this growth that he's been on at the Senior Bowl, and like here's him, against Gabe Jacas. I'm not going to pronounce it wrongly, but I mean that's a really high profile player from Illinois, and it's just you just type his name in on Twitter, and all it is clips of him doing well at the Senior Bowl. So I'm not going to get into too much more detail. Oh, this is a different view of the clip. Yeah. So anyway, I'm not going to get into too much more detail about like, oh, here's how he kicks, has his right foot kick when he's backing out to block. Like, I'm not diving into that. All I'm saying is like, Iheanachor has a real shot at being a first round pick. And to back up my point, right? Like Daniel Jeremiah, who is, I'm not going to say he's the foremost, NFL draft person, but he is a very well-known NFL draft person. He released his top 50 players earlier this week. On that list was Max Iheanachor. So I'm just going to read the description here from Daniel Jeremiah. Iheanachor is a raw, talented right tackle. He moved with his family to Los Angeles from Nigeria when he was 13 years old. He played soccer and basketball growing up, but he didn't play football in high school. He started playing football in junior college and rapidly developed. His tape isn't perfect, but it's full of clues hinting he could end up being one of the best offensive linemen in this year's class. In pass pro, he jumps out of his stance and stays square. He is often late to the punch, exposing his chest, but he still has the strength to absorb and anchor. He's very athletic to redirect and smother counter moves. In the run game, he has knockback power. He moves well on pulls and second-level blocks. It might take a little time, but Iheanachor has the raw tools to develop into a high-level starter. It's basically saying like, yeah, he's a little rough around the edges and there's some things to tune up, but he's got the traits, he's got the tools, he's got the size, he's got the power. Um, and guys like this, right? He has him at Jeremiah has him at 41st. Okay, 41st overall. That is 9 picks away from being in the first round. 9 picks away. You know what happens in the first round of the draft all the time? All the time is players who are like considered to be like early second rounders. Oh, actually, you're going in the first round because some team like just really likes you. And I mean, speaking with my team, like the Seahawks, they drafted Nick Imanwori in the second round, but it's been reported like they wanted to trade back up into the first round and get him after they had already selected Gray Zabel. So it worked out that Seattle got both. But my point is like guys in this range, right? And let's just go with guys like Anthony Hill, who we saw last year in the Peach Bowl. Ty Simpson, yeah, like Ty Simpson, sure, he's the 40th ranked player, but someone's going to draft him in the first round, right? Whether he should be drafted in the first round or not, it would not surprise anyone if Ty Simpson went in the first round just because of the need. So Jadarian Price, this is unlikely because he's a running back. Brazel, like this guy definitely could. Same with Malachi Fields, potentially Deion Burks, like probably not a linebacker from Cincinnati. Zach Branch, potentially. Interior offensive line, like a lot of that same logic goes to Iheanachor and then another wide receiver. Guys ahead of him, TJ Parker, Antonio Williams. This guy's a lot. He has R. Mason Thomas. Like Woods and Parker were both projected as like locked in first round picks before the year. McDonald, then you get into the first round. But my overall point with this with Iheanachor is like if a guy like Daniel Jeremiah, who like is really plugged in, knows what he's talking about, is saying like, hey, like this guy's like my 40th ranked player in all of the guys entering the draft. He's like he's like 40th. I mean, that's a real potential to get 2 first round picks along with Tyson, who I'll actually scroll up because I don't think ASU people will like where Tyson is locked in here. Jeremiah has him as the 15th overall player behind 2 other wide receivers. It's a really glowing review, and then it just with the end is durability was an issue throughout his college career. That's the only factor keeping him from a higher grade projection, which you can be mad about that if you're an ASU fan. I'm not going to tell you not to be, but also like Jordan Tyson potentially sliding a bit because of some durability concerns is not like some crazy absurd thing. Like if you're an NFL GM and you have, let's say you have Tyson graded as like a 9.7 out of 10 and you have Carnell Tate and Mekhi Lemon as graded like 9.5 out of 10. But if both of those guys have clean bills of health, then okay, like you can't really blame, like it's not that much of an indictment or anything. So plus like this could help Tyson just go to a better team, right? That would be helpful for him. I wonder who he has. Mendoza. Okay, that makes sense. Jeremiah Love, yeah, that makes sense too. But Jeremiah Love won't get drafted number 2 overall. But anyway, just to kind of wrap it up with Iheanachor and Tyson, like if ASU does get 2 first round picks, and by the way, Keith Abney could also be a first round pick. That's probably unlike like Keith Abney seems, I'd say, more likely that he's just going to go in the second round, which is also like that's still really good, for him if he just goes in the second round. But if Iheanachor continues to play well at the Senior Bowl, which is on Saturday, and at the practices, and he slides into the back of the first round, right? And ASU is 2 guys get drafted. That would honestly, I could make an argument that would be the second most important, like, just thing that happened in the Dillingham era. I can make it maybe the third. I would say number one is just beating Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game because like you clinched the Big 12. You won the Big 12 championship. You clinched a berth in the playoffs. So nothing is topping that. Number two, I'll probably actually say beating BYU because that got you into the Big 12 championship game or cleared the path. And it's also just like BYU is a huge natural rival. They're a school that at this point in college football has more money to work with, and they have tons of fans in Arizona. So it was great to just beat BYU, right? But a potential NFL first round pick, a potential 2026 NFL draft that has two ASU players go in the first round would be absolutely monumental for this program. Okay. And that doesn't mean it's going to like all of a sudden like lead to this breakthrough in recruiting. And now instead of being like a top 10 to 12 transfer portal team, you're like top 5. Like it's not going to lead to that, but it would continue to build just more positive steam around the program as a whole. And you know what? I actually, now that I think about this, it would probably be fourth because you have to put the day that Saturday in December. I think it was the 21st. I don't know. Whatever day it was that Dillingham officially like re-signed and it was clear that the Michigan stuff wasn't going to happen. That could actually be ahead. But you're getting my point with like, it would be a huge deal. And then if you pair that with Keith Abney going in the second round, then that's 3 players in the first 3 rounds. And by the way, like even if Max Iheanachor, if he goes in the second round along with Abney, and then you have Tyson go in the first round, like that's still really like that's still awesome to have 3 guys go in the first 2 rounds. But it does it would sound better and it would mean a little bit more if it's 2 guys in the first round versus 1 guy in the first and 2 in the second. But that's just perception. But again, perception really matters. So anyway, credit to Max Iheanachor. Like he's been a really underrated player on these ASU teams the last 2 years, and he kind of just held down the right side of the O line this past year. Yeah, he had some penalties here and there, but like that's so overblown. I think sometimes football fans they focus in on like the thing that they can grasp of like, oh, this is this thing that happened. Similar to like when Jason Brown fumbled in the Sun Bowl. It's like, okay, Jason Brown fumbled and it was a bad fumble and it led to Duke coming back. It's like, okay, like he still was awesome in that game. So I don't understand why you're actually like really mad at him and rant on that. But overall, like I almost said Charles Cross. I got Seahawks on my mind. Max Iheanachor was just a really good player on this ASU offensive line. And he will not be the only kind of ASU player getting drafted along with Abney and Tyson because Keyshawn Elliott is also at the Senior Bowl. Keyshawn Elliott hasn't drawn quite as much rave reviews as Iheanachor. He hasn't quite as much been like, oh, this guy's like really stood out. But the fact that he's invited to the Senior Bowl, the fact that he seems to, have fit in well, been doing okay, like that means he's going to get drafted at some point, right? Like it would be pretty surprising if Keyshawn Elliott does not get drafted, right? I would be very surprised if he goes in like the first, second, or third round. Like he's definitely going to be a day 4 guy, but so is Cam Scadaboo, right? Like so, he'll get drafted, and then another player who's earned some somewhat high level smoke has been Ghost Rouser. So he's been at the Shrine Bowl, and this is from the account NFL Draft Buzz, so not quite as reputable as the other accounts that I showed for Iheanachor. But this is from Monday. It's Miles Ghost Rouser was cooking at the Shrine Bowl practices. His draft stock is skyrocketing. Scouts buzzing about his range, ball skills, and physicality. That crazy 6'4" wingspan is all over the field. Rising DB alert, don't blink. So if he really does, play well at the Shrine Bowl, like that's a big deal. And again, this is another guy who could go in like the 5th round. And again, like that's still, yeah, so he doesn't have a ton of he doesn't have a ton, oh, the Shrine Bowl already happened. Okay, but he doesn't have quite as much hype. But you know what? That's fine. Like he's like tackles in the NFL are just more valuable commodities than safeties. But I wanted to shout him out as well, just because he's been a fun player and he has the the physical tools and the willingness to hit that NFL teams love. So I really just that's been kind of the ASU stuff that's kind of been popping up on my feed, and I don't know. I just think it's promising that if Max Iheanachor, like if he actually like gets drafted in the 1st round, which again, like I don't think that's crazy at all. Just with how much hype, how much like stock NFL teams put into the Senior Bowl, I don't think it's crazy at all for him to for it to be like a legit possibility that he goes in the 1st round. Now, if you're asking me today, I would guess that he doesn't go in the 1st round. He'll probably go in the 2nd round, like in terms of just like a probability mindset of it. But teams at the end of the 1st round, like it's not surprising at all to see a team be like, oh, this guy's like 5 slots below a 1st round pick on our draft board, but we're going to take him here. Like that happens all the time in the NFL draft. So I think that's something to watch for kind of down the road and just see how he does these next few days. Like, and he's just been such an important player in ASU's turnaround. Like he really has. And yeah, so wishing him the best, and hopefully he'll continue to boost his draft stock. So ASU is also doing some stuff recruiting. They are hosting Noah Roberts, running back, and Jake Hildebrand, offensive tackle. These are 2 Basha players, and they are 2 recipients of the golden ticket thing that the staff did, I believe, in June of this year. And I'll be really honest, like I am really struggling to like just care about high school recruiting the way I used to. And I'm not like I didn't used to care that much, but like I just care less, because it's like, okay, like if now it's kind of a position by position basis, but it's just less meaningful than it was. There's no argument around that. Like, especially in the wake of Indiana winning the freaking national championship with like 8 4-star or higher guys on their whole team. Like, that's just now granted, like it's still important to recruit well. And I think like ASU's off to, the 2 guys that they do have in the 2027 class, in Weston Nielsen and Nico Bland from yeah, they have 2 guys, but they're both 4-stars, and Nico Bland and then Weston Nielsen, both are from out of state. This staff is obviously like, hey, we need to make sure that we're not locking down Arizona, but we are really trying to prioritize getting these guys from in-state to be here and at least making an effort, right? Which they're definitely doing. No one can accuse them of not making an effort. So, but getting the 2 guys, Noah Roberts and Jake Hildenbrand, on campus, like that would be really promising. I'm going to look up Cartman's page. The thing is, like, I know that they have a guy, Tyson Johnson from California, a Barrett Bray, offensive lineman. Where's this guy from? Texas, Fort Worth. Okay. Weston Nielsen. Another QB down the road. But like they're ramping up their recruiting efforts, and it would be awesome to close on Jake Hildenbrandt and Noah Roberts, or just get one of them. Honestly, like I'm fine with just getting one of them, because like high school recruiting, it's just if you're a high profile kid and then you don't play your first year at wherever you are, then there's a good chance you hit the portal. So especially with skill guys. Like just skill guys they can be replaced in the portal, like they really can. Like, oh, look at like ASU, we lost Raleek Brown and Jordan Tyson, and then we go in the portal and we get Reed Harris and Omarion Miller and Raiden Vinesbright, and like you expect, and you have running backs already here that you have promise in, right? So I know that Dillingham doesn't want to just like go to the portal for everything, but it is there, and so I don't know. That's where I'm just kind of. I want ASU to recruit well, like I do, but I struggle to just like get really annoyed when like a player doesn't pick here, and that's actually something that happened today with Zarek Sidney, who is a Desert Edge wide receiver, and he chose to go to UW. He committed earlier today to go to UW, and he was one of the golden ticket guys, right? And that shows that like the golden ticket, like it's great that ASU is doing it, but it's not some guarantee of anything, right? It's not. And so, I heard, and he obviously going to Washington, picked UW over USC, Oklahoma, and ASU. So ASU is in the mix with those type of prospects. So, it'd be great to get him. But again, it's like, okay, we got Raiden Vinesbright. Like, it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm spending way too much time talking about recruiting here anyway, but wanted to touch on that. And hopefully this visit they have this weekend goes well. If they can get, I will say this with recruiting, like getting a 4-star tackle or a 4-star offensive lineman means so much more to me than getting a 4-star skill guy, just because like, the offensive linemen, I feel like they don't hit the portal as much and they're just less replaceable. And so getting a guy like Hildebrandt would be incredible. I'm skeptical that ASU will actually land him because he's got offers from like everywhere. And this is another thing that comes to mind in recruiting. It's like when fans get mad at a player for not going to their school, I understand it because you want good things to happen to your school, right? That's just how it is. But it's like these other things that they're getting offered are just like nothing just because they don't have a Sparky logo on it or whatever. Like, let's just, I don't know. I just think fans can be really stupid with that. So, but hopefully this Noah Roberts and Jake Hildenbrandt, like, let's hope that works out for ASU. And if they can just get one of them, right? Like, getting both would be a grand slam triple deck result. But I don't think, we'll see. But again, I will say that like I really like that they are like just 100% trying. And that's not something we've seen from previous staffs. Not just the Herm era staff, the Graham staff, I imagine the Dennis Erickson staff as well. So okay. Wrapping up on football. I can't believe I just went 28 minutes on that. Before we dive into the basketball news, I do want to talk about ice hockey a little bit. So it's not looking good this year. I know they've had injuries, but they just got swept at home. No overtime games by North Dakota. Granted, they're the number 4 team in the country, but this still sets you back. ASU hockey is now 12, 13, and 1, and they host. Oh no, I'm sorry. They're at Colorado College on Friday and Saturday night, and then they host St. Cloud State the February 6th and 7th. And I don't know. It's just like they've kind of just fallen off the map in terms of ASU sports this year. And again, some of it's due to injuries, right? Like when Colin Potter gets injured, when Beck gets injured, that slows things down. But it's also just I don't know. Like the advantage ASU hockey does have is they are the highest level hockey product in the Valley. And until the Coyotes return, which seems actually more likely than it used to, then like that's going to be an advantage for them, but they have to like take advantage of that too, because it's not like they don't have any funding at all. And so, the season's not over and they play, they have some opportunities to pick up good wins on their schedule remaining, but got to get it turned around. And some of these early losses to bad teams that they had early in the year, like those are coming back to roost. So, wishing them luck this weekend in Colorado Springs. I just hope that it's not too late. So, had to shout out hockey a little bit. All right. Now we talk about Arizona State men's and women's basketball. I'm going to talk about women's basketball first. And you know what? They've had a little bit of a rough stretch in their season. If you kind of looked at the point differentials of their wins, it wasn't totally unexpected. Like they weren't playing the best teams of all time, and they beat Gonzaga by 2, they beat Oregon State by 2, they beat Utah by 1, McNeese by 10, UNLV by 3. So Penn State win was great, but like it's not completely surprising that they've kind of sputtered a little bit in Big 12 play. They're 5-4 in the Big 12, 18-4 overall, which is still awesome. And there's really only 2 teams in the Big 12 that are kind of really separated from them, those being TCU and Baylor. They got smoked by TCU. I mean, they got absolutely dominated by TCU when they played, earlier this month, right? Yes, 2 weeks ago. They just got absolutely smoked, but counts as one loss. And you know what? After kind of a rough road trip to the Midwest, right? Lose to West Virginia, lose to Cincinnati, close game. The Cincinnati loss is tough. They come back and they beat Arizona. That's a big win. It was the attendance record for ASU women's basketball. And that's like a really good thing to see. Like women's basketball, it's obviously growing. It's been completely in hibernation at ASU for kind of the peak of the Charlie Turner Thorne era. And it's starting to get back up, right? And so you have Elliott leading the charge with 22 points on Wednesday night, and like this ASU women's basketball team, they don't need to be a world beater, right? Like they were awful last year. So if they can just continue with the good stretch of play and Big 12 play that they've had, they just continue to stack wins, continue to just play generally well, they're going to make the tournament, right? They're going to make the tournament. In fact, let's look at the bracketology from Charlie Creme. Where does he have Arizona State? So he has them as a bubble team. And that's not great. Like you don't want to be the very, very, very last team kind of, last 4 buys, last 4 in. So they don't have like an unlimited leash to work with, but this was updated before they beat U of A, so they should be in a little bit better shape after that win. But they got to keep playing well, because they're just whatever the metrics, like it's not as like impressive as their overall record is, but it's still a good place to be for the program. And I expect ASU to get in the tournament. Like it's not an impossible upcoming schedule. They have opportunities for good wins. They don't play TCU again, which is probably good. Now they do play at Baylor, but if you're going to play one of the better teams in the conference, play them on the road. So at least you don't waste the opportunity of the home game beating a good team. So had to shout out women's basketball there before my next topic, which is Arizona State men's basketball. And this is kind of where we thought they would be. They took kind of a circuitous path to get to 11-10 overall, 2-6 in the Big 12. They're not the worst team in the league, right? Baylor, oh my gosh, Baylor's dropped off. Utah's bad. K-State, which ASU beat. And then there's a bunch of there's Colorado and Oklahoma State, who are also 2-win teams. And then you get higher up in the standings. I mean, this is pretty brutal. There's just a ton of losses, right? Like you lose 4 in a row to end 2025, and then at BYU, you beat K-State, and then you lose 3 in a row. The last time I spoke was after the horrible trip to Arizona and then really to Houston. And then you have the West Virginia game where Bobby's comments overshadow all of that. They bounced back with I'll say this, like a really good win over Cincinnati. Mo Odom was incredible in that game. I was there. Might be the only ASU game I go to in person this year. And then they play actually like really well for like 75% of the game against UCF, and then they blow it. And like the UCF, see, I'll hand up, like I didn't even know that game was going on. I literally was on a walk after work and I just checked my phone and I see the ASU's up at halftime over UCF. They're up by like 5 points. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like UCF is actually a pretty good team. They're top half of the Big 12. They're 5-3, 16-4. Like UCF is trending to be an NCAA tournament team. And ASU hung with them, but then they just blew it. And it's like, that is like the perfect encapsulation of this ASU basketball team, men's basketball. Because this team is not like, I'm not going to sit here and say like they're super talented and they've got all these great players, but they're not like a joke when it comes to talent. Like we've seen in the 2020s, like we have seen worse ASU men's basketball teams than this one. Like not even like debatable. Like that they're like, this team is not horrible. They're not, but there's too many lapses, man. There's too many lapses. And when you just give up so I'm going to look at the game cast of this. ASU was up by 11 points with 5:27 left in the game and just completely gacked it over. You have missed threes, you have turnovers. It's just, you have UCF making some threes as well, but I mean, it's one of those, like, that was an ESPN Plus game, and I'm sure a lot of the people watching who didn't watch that game could share the sentiment of like, yeah, I'm kind of glad I missed that one. And that's where we're at with ASU men's basketball. It's really unfortunate. But it's also not that surprising. And, I said it's really unfortunate, but maybe it's not, right? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just because I remember thinking while I was on that walk, like, if they beat, they had a good win over Cincinnati. If they beat UCF, then all of a sudden they would be 12-9. You would have the Arizona game, and then you get through that. And after the Arizona game on Saturday, ASU schedule is not that like much of a meat grinder, right? You have 2 more games against Utah, right? At Colorado, you host Oklahoma State, who's not in some world different than you. Host Texas Tech, that's a tough one. Baylor is, again, not that good. TCU is 13-8. Like they have a losing Big 12 record as well. Kansas at home is probably your best chance to get a big upset, and then you're at Iowa State, which that's going to be an extremely difficult game. So you have a few like just absolute no chancers, but you have a lot of actually games after the Arizona game to kind of just beef up wins. But it's not going to matter now. Like you've had too many games where you've blown it. The Colorado game, the Oregon State game are terrible. UCF is just they're not a terrible team, but the way that loss happened is terrible. And then you have West Virginia. And again, West Virginia is not, they're okay. They're a little bit better. They're 5-3 in the Big 12, but they're not great. And ASU led them at half, right? ASU led the game at half. They led, let's find halftime. Oh, wait, no. They led 37-35, and then they get outscored by 14 points in the second half, and it's just over. And this is where Bobby Hurley just kind of had a moment of just truth, unfortunately. And he just let it all out. He said, my voice is not working with this group, and that was a great example of it, of a player not doing a take foul. And what really kind of came out of this press conference was him calling the arena and the environment sterile. We don't win here, Hurley said. We don't give our fans any reason to show up with enthusiasm. And I think, or to think that we're going to win a basketball game and we've been dreadful at home for 6 years. So it's like, he's not even totally wrong, but you also can't say that stuff, right? You cannot say that stuff while you are technically employed to do this. And I don't know, I'm not as mad as a lot of other people because like it's just so clear that this is just gonna end. But I don't know. It's just like the writing's on the wall. The Hurley era is not over in terms of officially it's not over, but it's going to be over very, very soon. And I hope we get a few, decent moments, but I don't know. Like, I'm probably not going to go to another game this year. I don't really have any interest in going. It's not that fun of an experience. Even like, it was great to see them win. Like, that was fun, but you just know that's probably not going to happen. And, to close this out, like, I think Arizona is just going to destroy this team on Saturday. And because they didn't do it the first time, right? Like, ASU almost beat them that first time down in Tucson. They're gonna have a bunch of fans there. It's extremely expensive to get in. It's like the lowest ticket's like $95, which is absurd to me. But that's how it is. So I don't know. Just had to touch on that. It's old news at this point, but I like my thought. Like, I think the Hurley era overall has been a slight success for ASU men's basketball, considering all of the challenges it faces and just the historical ineptitude of the program. But like, it's been 11 years and, I wish him luck and I could totally see him doing better in the next spot, but it's run its course. So hopefully, I don't know when I'll be at next, probably, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. I'm starting a new job, so don't have quite as much time. And it's also with just kind of a lifeless men's basketball season and a lot of the draft stuff, transfer portal stuff is now in the past. There's less newsy things going on, hopefully. I don't want any sort of crazy bad news coming, but yeah. All right. That's it for this show. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, rate and review on your podcast platform of choice. And as always, go Sun Devils.